Básicamente hoy vamos a trabajar en grupos, ¿sí? Y vamos a ver un vídeo y escribir una narrativa. Entonces, el objetivo final de la clase es entregar una narrativa, ¿sí? Escrito en grupos, pues a mí. ¿Está bien? ¿Sí? Y el primer paso es, antes de ver el vídeo, vamos a leer 2 narrativas sobre el vídeo. ¿Sí? Y vamos a pensar, ¿cómo es el vídeo entonces? ¿Sí? Si leemos las narrativas, tendremos una idea de cómo es el vídeo. Vamos a ver cómo creemos que va a ser el vídeo. ¿Sí? Entonces, para poneros en grupos, voy a hacer lo que hicimos el otro día. ¿Sí? Bárbara, 1. ¿Sí? 2, 3,
5,
6,
6, 7. 1 con 1, 2 con 2, 3 con 3. Venga, rápido.
Well, I really like activities like this, honestly, because I feel like it's something that our program lacks, okay? And I mean, at least me as a student, I always enjoyed doing stuff like this. But I also know that the students here are a different profile of students, and that's exactly the problem that I faced, I think, with the activity. One is they're not used to these kind of activities where they have to be creative and, you know, so they usually come to class and they expect, you know, really, even if you try and ask them, like a lot of the times when we ask them to write an essay, you'll see that you'll have 24 essays with the same topic, and they haven't talked to each other. So somehow it's a really strange phenomenon, but then I feel like we need to develop that creativity more in them, or let them feel comfortable enough to express it. And which is one of the problems I had with the activity, because my students are not normally creative. So it was really hard for them to get into that role of, you know, just letting themselves think about what could it be, you know, that kind of thing, putting themselves in that situation of hypothesize, you know, imagine something, and they find it really hard.
¿Sí?
I don't like this is 9 minutes, it's 11 minutes. Oh. So I guess you said this is, because we have Alejandro and Jocelyn. So 2 different people. Okay, so are we supposed to, do you have a sheet for her? And no. So we're just supposed to do both people on one sheet? But that's after the, like, how is it in the video? This is, what do you think it's going to be in the video?
Because we watch the video afterwards, and you'll see who said what.
But it says right here that we already know who said what. Just imagine that all you're able to see.
Oh, okay. Maybe we're supposed to just just what words do we not know from these things?
Are these like different characters in the video we're going to see?
Es eso, es que 2 personas vieron el vídeo. El vídeo no tiene sonido.
Oh, so they made up.
Sí,
These are the lines they made
exacto,
up.
al ver el vídeo. Ahora tienes que pensar cómo es el vídeo.
Yeah, it's not very dumb, but okay.
No, you can do it.
Yeah, exciting.
Imagina.
Well, it's just because the lines don't make sense altogether.
Sí, ¿cómo será? Entonces, ¿qué crees? ¿Cómo es el vídeo?
Half silent, half not. I don't know.
Sí, podéis ponerlo aquí. Pensad, ¿cómo son los personajes? ¿Cuántos personaje? ¿Qué significa personaje? Ajá. ¿Cuántos personajes hay? ¿Cómo son? Sí. Escribidlo, empezad a escribir.
Also, since they've never worked with videos like this before, I don't think they really understood the instructions. So when they were given a narrativa, they were confused about, wait, is this a dialogue or is this a narrative? And maybe I should have explained it more, but I felt like I lacked the time, and I was really worried about the 50 minutes running out.
So you're supposed
Watch
to.
the video. This is what they came up with.
Oh, so this is just like a sample.
Yes. So now can you think about it? This is what they came up with.
Okay. So these.
¿Qué
Seconds? Is that seconds or minutes?
¿Sí?
Oh.
Entonces, ¿qué crees? ¿Cómo es el video? ¿Qué crees?
Okay, so now we're making up our own here,
So you're thinking about what do you expect to see in the video?
just from these.
Yes.
So we're supposed to go back and forth.
So are these supposed to be? Are
They're
they
talking to each other.
They're talking.
They're separate.
They're separate.
They're
Okay.
individually.
So what? I don't understand.
So
are we supposed to
esta persona
choose- Yeah.
vio el video y ella habló. Al día siguiente fue esa persona,
Oh, okay.
ella habló, dijo esta cosa, narró esto.
Okay.
So if this person said this and this person said this, what do you think you're going to see in the video?
Okay. So we're supposed to like, and then here we're supposed to write personality.
No, personajes, ¿qué significa personaje? Entonces, por ejemplo, en Romeo y Juliet, Romeo es un personaje,
Oh, character.
¿sí? Podéis pensar, ¿cuántos personajes hay? ¿Cuántas personas hay en el video? Ujú. Entonces, ¿qué tipo de persona es? Describe a la persona, ¿no? ¿Es una chica, es un chico, es rubia, es morena? Sí, eso es lo que tienes que pensar, ¿sí?
Okay.
Alright, well, mine was
In the lesson plan that I chose, they looked at the narratives first and then went to the video. Whereas I think the first lesson plan was the one where they could see the video first and then go to the narratives. And the reason I actually chose it this way is because I thought my students are really, you know, if they watch the video, they're just gonna think it's a joke, and they actually laughed, if you remember, when they saw the video. And so I thought if I show them the video first and then ask them to write something about it, then they're going to be stuck. So I gave them the narrative first, you know, because I felt like the narratives made it a little more serious. But they told me that they would have preferred to see the video first. Okay, so they felt like they felt a little lost because they hadn't seen the video.
Wait, sí, estos son el mismo conversación.
No, dos diferentes. Entonces, por ejemplo, el lunes fue Alejandra a ver el video. Y el martes, Yoseli fue a ver el video. Y hoy vamos a ver el video nosotros.
Y esta conversación es entre Jocelyn y Marco.
No, es Yoseli está hablando todo el tiempo. Pero eso es exactamente lo que tienes que pensar. Si Yoseli dice pobre Marco, entonces en el video, ¿cuántos personajes hay? Puede ser que sea, sí, puede ser que sea dos, ¿no? Pero ella también habla de otra persona.
Sí.
Eso es lo que tenéis que pensar. ¿Qué creéis que vais a ver en el video? ¿Cómo son los invitados? ¿Sí? No os pongáis tan serios. Es una actividad ligera. No hay una respuesta correcta, una respuesta incorrecta. Es vuestra
Pero
opinión.
estas personas definitivamente son personas.
¿Crees? Sí. Ok, está bien. Descríbelo. Entonces, Marco, por ejemplo, ¿es alto? ¿Es bajo? ¿Qué tipo de ojos tiene? ¿Cómo es?
Ok. Sí,
¿Sí?
entiendo. Gracias.
That's the same.
Bajo.
Muy bien, ya tenéis algo. ¿Qué crees? ¿Cómo va a ser el vídeo? ¿Qué crees? ¿Cómo va a ser el vídeo?
Yeah, and so during class, I had to change the lesson plan, and they were supposed to first individually write narratives and then put them together in groups. And I've noticed that they normally take a lot of time to even just write down thoughts. If I could give them, if we do an activity and then I say, okay, let's, now, we're going to share opinions. So instead of just talking about it, why don't you jot down a few ideas and then talk about it? And they're always stuck. So when I realized we're running out of time, I decided if we do that, the first part of doing it individually and then putting it together in a group, it would take too long. So I just made them do it in a group.
Sí, muy bien, muy bien. Ok. Bueno, ¿qué tenéis vosotros? Alejandra, quejarse. Es frustrada, delgada, Jocelyn, viva, estudiante consentida y alegre. Ok, vamos a ver el vídeo rápido. Ok, vamos a ver. ¿Ya tenéis ideas? En español. Sí, exacto. Pero en español. Sí, you think?
But, yeah, she's all talking about how she wants to be a dancer and she's trying to she's level 1.
Ajá, es verdad. Marco, ¿no? ¿O no? Es verdad, es Juan.
I don't know. Like I've told you this before, and I don't really want to blame the class because you never know what kind of students you're going to get. This is one of the weakest classes I've ever taught. Okay, so when Meena told me that I should, is it okay? First I wanted to say no, just because I felt like it's not going to be really successful because, they really need a lot of help. I don't know, I guess if you go over the video, you'll see a lot of the times there are students that just don't understand, so I finally just tell them in English what they have to do, or I'm like, trying to motivate them in English because they find it really hard. It's not just, I don't know whether they don't, I'm not 100% sure that they don't understand my Spanish. I think a lot of them do understand it, but they're not motivated enough to want to do it, or they like to just be confused about everything and complain about everything, like I told you, okay? But I didn't want to say no to Meena because I felt like this is also a valid class and people should get to, realize that you don't always have ideal classes, which I feel like is what we do when we write a lesson plan. We normally plan it like, the ones that we turn into supervisors or things like that. It's always for, the best class possible.
Ok, chicos. ¿Queréis ver el vídeo?
Sí, mucho.
¿Sí? Ok. Vamos a ver el vídeo y al ver el vídeo vamos a pensar lo que creíamos que iba a venir en el vídeo, ¿no? Las imágenes, los personajes, lo que creíamos que íbamos a ver, ¿no? Si de verdad el vídeo es así o no. ¿Sí? Entonces vamos a pensar en lo que tenemos en esta columna. Yo creo que los personajes son así. Yo creo que las imágenes son así. Vamos a ver, ¿es verdad o no es verdad? ¿Qué diferencias hay y qué semejanzas hay? ¿Sí? vais a hablar en grupos de lo que era diferente de lo que pensabais y lo que sí aceptasteis. ¿Sí? Venga. Como queráis. Sí. Ok. Vamos a ver el vídeo una vez más y vais a escribir una narrativa. Básicamente, imagínalo así. Si una persona está mirando el vídeo y yo estoy leyendo, tiene sentido. ¿Sí? Chicos, vamos a ver el vídeo una vez más. ¿Sí? Francine, Patrick y Barbara.
You're not changing.
Sí. Vamos a ver el vídeo una vez más. Y luego escribimos la narrativa en grupo. ¿Está bien? ¿Sí? Y es para entregar. Así que cuidado con cómo escribís. Si tuvieras que crear, imagina que estoy mirando el vídeo y tú lees lo que has escrito. ¿Sí? Y tiene sentido. Por ejemplo, cuando... ¿Dónde estaba? ¿Me muestras uno de los textos? Okay. Imagina que sale el vídeo y yo leo. Me imagino que él todavía no puede superarlo. ¿Sí? Una narración con el vídeo. Vais a escribir vuestra narración del vídeo. ¿No? So I don't want you to describe the video, but I want you to think of something. Imagine basically, I tell you this is the video and I want you to write a text to give it a voiceover. Okay? So when someone else, and I can put on YouTube and someone else can see the video with you talking about it, and it makes sense. So it can be a story about what is happening. It can be like they do, they imagine that they're the character in the video and they're talking. Anything you want. But do you understand what you have to do now? See? Be as creative as you can. Sí, ¿tenéis ideas o también estáis un poco confundidos? ¿No? Ella ya tiene. Pero estáis trabajando juntos, ¿no? Sí. ¿Tenéis ideas? Ok. Va bien, ¿no? No me tengo que preocupar.
You will also notice in the video that there are some groups, I know that they understood it, and they're really good. And so there were some groups where I was just like, okay, you guys are good, right? And I just keep walking on because they say yes, and I believe them, and I know that they're doing it well.
Oh, muy bien. Sí tenéis ideas. Who? Okay, muy bien. I'd like to hear that story.
has been giving at first and isn't doing it. Like you can say like
Yeah, we can do either way.
Marco and Alejandro did.
In the park.
Well, I remember that he plays the piano.
Sí puedes.
So they met and passed him. So
Sí, pero el corazón sí.
I mean, that's the
Estoy
religion.
pensando en canciones, porque muchas canciones salen. Lo más normal es decir que alguien
Because this class, even the basic topics, I feel like I struggle to get through to them, you know. And like I told you, I have 2 students that are very negative and very vocal about their negativity. And that's very frustrating because a lot of the other students, if they didn't have those 2 voices in the class, I think they would be more, you know, just more open. But because those 2 voices are so loud, I also need to be loud enough to quieten them out. It takes effort and takes time.
Tenéis muchas ideas.
Toca el, I don't know how to say it. Is it piano? Toca el piano.
Escritor de música o como no, vamos a ver. Alguien que compone
¿Se toca o se
sí,
toca?
es un espera, Beethoven era un compositor.
Es tocar.
Tenéis una historia interesante, ¿no? Ok.
and
Porque
also
después no tengo
ceramics.
que...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. But that was just
Well, we can say like they
just in general.
Yeah, like they go into the arts and things in general.
Because what I think is important is we have to be in the
I guess Sarah. Is that it?
yeah.
At first they
Yeah. So you started working on después habrá.
Just to add on more, you could say.
So casarse is to get married. So después wedding, I don't know.
We can say she did because we don't know what he did.
¿Cómo se dice
¿Cómo se dice qué? Wedding? Boda. Una boda. La boda.
And then what's the guy's name? Marco. So yeah, that's the only use one. That's what I'm saying. That's like
What does that say?
Ok, chicos. Por favor, en la hoja poned vuestros nombres, me entregáis vuestra narrativa y podéis salir para la pausa. Y nadie me escucha. Venga, chicos, atención. Poned vuestros nombres, me entregáis la hoja y luego salís a la pausa. ¿Está bien? Sí, sí. Ok, gracias.
And I chose the 3rd lesson plan because I didn't want to do the oral one because most of my students don't participate. Today, we had this one activity where basically they had to talk in groups about some event that happened in the past, you know, like the discovery of the new world or things like that. and say which one they would want to time travel to, you know, and I felt like they were not really talking, so I said, okay, let's discuss this now, you know, after they took their time to talk about it in groups. I said, okay, what did you guys discuss, and what were some of the historic moments that you thought about? And I had 2 students answer. So I told them, until each and every one of you gives me one historic moment and why, we're not moving on. And it took us so long. I could have let them go 5 minutes early, but I made them stay because I made them finish. So it's so hard to get them to talk. I didn't want to do the oral activity since it was being recorded, you know.